What if I told you that everything you believe is nothing more than a carefully planned performance? That your ambitions, your fears, even your own identity are just reflections of deeply rooted beliefs, so skillfully implanted in your mind that you don't even notice how they shape you. You don't think for yourself. You repeat. You don't truly choose. You follow, thinking you're free. But if you're not making the decisions, then who are you? The awakened, the few, were mentioned long before you were born. Jiddu Krishnamurti was one of the few voices who dared to say out loud what no one else wanted to hear. Life is an illusion, and only those who truly live can recognize it. Everything around you, society, relationships, rules you accept without questioning, is part of the great illusion. But if everything is an illusion, then a question arises that only a few dare to ask. Is there something truly real? If you're brave enough, keep searching for answers. If not, return to the comfort of your shell. Society is the perfect stage, a huge theater where everyone plays their role without realizing that they never wrote their own script. But what happens when someone dares to step out of their role? When they challenge the script? They are silenced, ridiculed, or labeled as crazy. Krishnamurti saw this with striking clarity. He said, "Being well adjusted to a deeply sick society is not a sign of health. And yet, we keep adapting. We keep running, competing, consuming, seeking approval, as if life had some final destination, some invisible trophy that no one can truly define. But what if all of this is an illusion? What if everything you've been chasing leads only to emptiness? The businessman who sacrificed everything for wealth realizes money doesn't fulfill him. The artist who dreamed of fame feels more alone than ever when he attains it. The couple who believed they found their happy ending ends up trapped in a meaningless routine, all because they lived in an illusion, believing in promises that were never real. Krishnamurti never softened his words. The human mind is corrupted by illusion. You're not free. You're the product of your culture, your family, your religion, your history. You're a construct, and everything you call truth may just be a reflection of an invisible prison. But the question remains, is there something truly real? That's what we'll discover. Have you ever asked yourself who you really are? Before you answer, think. When you were born, your mind was a blank page. You had no name, nationality, religion, ideology, preferences, or beliefs. You were nothing, a free, empty being without labels. But then the training began. They taught you your name, your nationality, your religion. They told you what was right and what was wrong. They told you what to believe, what to dream, what to fear. Slowly, you began to become something else. Without realizing it, you were programmed to identify with something that was never truly yours. Now ask yourself, if all of this was imposed on you, who are you really? Krishnamurti spoke directly about this. You believe you think freely, but your thoughts are just reflections of the society that created you, and that's a cruel truth. Because if your thoughts are not yours, then neither are your desires. You want what they taught you to want. You seek happiness in places they told you to search. Money, success, love. But ask yourself honestly, does this really bring you inner peace? Now look at your life. Every decision you've made, was it truly yours? The clothes you wear, the job you chose, the person you share your life with, even the way you see yourself, were these your choices? The human mind doesn't tolerate emptiness, and to avoid the pain of not knowing who we are, We cling to ready-made identities. This is how we continue to live, wearing masks, adopting labels, playing roles we aren't even sure make sense. And here's the saddest part. Even after realizing this, most people are afraid to let the illusion go. Because without it, who are we? Society teaches us to run from silence. Have you noticed how we always seek distraction? Phones, music, empty conversations, social media, anything to avoid being alone with ourselves. Because if we stay in silence too long, we might see what we're avoiding. A huge emptiness behind all of this. Krishnamurti said that only a few dare to face this. It's easier to hide in the illusion. People prefer to believe their ideas, opinions, and stories are their own, because the truth is frightening. Arthur Schopenhauer, another great thinker, had an even darker view. For him, life was suffering, and realizing that only led to despair. No desire could truly satisfy the human being, but Krishnamurti went further. He believed the problem wasn't in the desire itself, but in how we identify with it. When we desperately want something, we suffer because we fear not achieving it. When we achieve it, we suffer because of the fear of losing it. And when we lose it, we suffer from the emptiness it leaves behind. What if the real problem isn't life itself, but the way we were taught to see it? Have you ever wondered why we're never taught to search for the truth? From a young age, we're taught to read, write, count, but no one teaches us how to really think. No one teaches us to look inside and ask, who am I? What am I doing here? Does life have a purpose? Or is it just a cycle of birth, work, and death? This is not by chance. It's control. Krishnamurti said that the entire social structure is built on fear. Fear is the root of obedience. So stop for a moment and ask yourself, what drives your life? The fear of losing money, the fear of being rejected, the fear of failure, loneliness, death. Fear governs everything. It shapes our actions, our choices, the people we become. And society knows this. That's why it keeps us afraid. Governments use fear to make us obey. Religions use fear to keep us submissive. The market uses fear to make us consume. Culture uses fear to make us conform. But what happens when you start asking questions? When someone begins to see the illusion, the world treats them as a threat, because it is. The system doesn't need conscious people. It needs people who conform. Awakening to the truth isn't comfortable. It's dangerous. It destroys everything you thought you knew. That's why most people prefer the illusion. They prefer living in a convenient lie rather than facing the harsh truth. Krishnamurti warned that true freedom isn't in choosing from limited options. True freedom is understanding that the very need to choose is an illusion. What does that mean? From the moment you were born, all your choices were already being directed. You think you're making decisions, but are you really? Look at history. What happened to Socrates, who challenged social thinking? He was sentenced to death. What happened to Galileo, who questioned the dominant view of the universe? He was silenced and persecuted. What happens today to those who reveal uncomfortable truths? Just label them crazy in the eyes of others. Because who would believe someone who says everything is an illusion? Who would take seriously someone who claims our life is a theatre and we've been acting in it for years without realizing it? But what if that person is right? What if you're so deeply asleep that you don't even notice the chains surrounding you? What would you do if you truly saw the truth? Most people, when they recognize the illusion, react in two ways. Some fall into despair, realizing everything they've built in their lives is false. Others return to the illusion because the emptiness of total freedom terrifies them. Schopenhauer said that a person can do whatever they want, but can't want what they want. Our will is not our own. It was formed before our birth. So the question returns, what is left when you realize everything has been manipulated? If you've made it this far, congratulations, you've already seen the door to your prison. But now comes the hardest part. Do you have the courage to cross it? Truth hurts. It hurts because it destroys. It hurts because once you see it, there's no turning back. Imagine living your entire life believing you were heading towards something significant, a goal, a reward, a final destination that gave meaning to everything. And then, one day, you realize that at the end of the road, there's nothing. What do you do? Arthur Schopenhauer believed that facing this truth led to despair. For him, life is suffering. We are never fully satisfied. We spend our days chasing pleasure and avoiding pain, only to realize that all happiness is fleeting and suffering always returns. He said life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. This means we suffer when we lack something, and then grow tired of it once we have it. Now look at your own life. Have you noticed how this cycle repeats again and again? You want money, you earn some, but it's never enough. You want a relationship. You find someone, but then you start missing your freedom. You want success. You work hard, but when you achieve it, you realize you're still unsatisfied. The human being is a prisoner of their desires. They never feel complete. They never find peace. For Schopenhauer, the only escape was to reject desires, live modestly, and accept that life has no higher purpose than suffering. But Krishnamurti saw this prison differently. For him, it's not life that suffers, but the mind. Krishnamurti believed the problem isn't in desire itself, but in how we identify with it. When we desperately want something, we suffer because we fear not obtaining it. When we get it, we suffer because of the fear of losing it. And when we lose it, we suffer from the emptiness it leaves behind. What if the real problem isn't life, but the way we were taught to see it? Krishnamurti said there's no path to truth. Truth is not a destination, it's a state of perception. While Schopenhauer saw existence as a curse we cannot wake from, Krishnamurti offered a different vision. The illusion of being can be destroyed. And once it is destroyed, we begin to see clearly. The real question is suffering truly an inevitable part of life, as Schopenhauer said? Or is it just an illusion created by our mind, as Krishnamurti argued? Look around you. How many people are constantly running from silence, from solitude, from confronting who they really are? This is why there is so much entertainment, consumption, and distraction. Because the moment someone stops to think, they open up to something terrifying, the unknown. Knowing the truth often leads to pessimism. Krishnamurti, however, saw it as the only way to freedom. This is the difference between them. Schopenhauer saw the illusion and gave in. Krishnamurti saw the illusion and smiled. Schopenhauer saw life as a nightmare from which we can't awaken. Krishnamurti saw it as a dream. And once we realize that, we can begin to truly live. Now the question is yours. Whose side are you on? If everything you've lived until now was an illusion, what will you choose? Stay asleep or wake up? The choice is yours. The human brain is a self-deception machine. It doesn't seek truth, it seeks safety. Science has already proven that the brain is a great filter. It doesn't show us the world as it is. It shows us the world the way it needs to be to maintain our stability. From a young age, every emotion, every belief, every fear has created neural pathways that shape how we see reality. You don't see the world objectively. You see it through the lens of your conditioning. Imagine this. You're walking down the street and someone looks at you. Instantly, your brain creates a story. They're judging me, or they must think something's wrong with me. But the truth could be much simpler. Maybe that person was just lost in their thoughts. This proves something crucial. We don't react to reality. We react to our interpretation of it. Krishnamurti said that the greatest illusion is believing we think freely, and science agrees. Research in neuroscience shows that decisions are made by the brain before we're even conscious of them. The brain chooses, and then gives us the illusion that we made the decision. In other words, your identity, your history, your pain, your desires, all of this could be just a set of automatic mental patterns. If this is true, the real question is, how do we escape this trap? Krishnamurti didn't believe in gurus, teachers, or systems. He said the only possible revolution is the inner revolution, and modern science supports him. Neuroplasticity shows that the brain can be reprogrammed. If your mind is the prison, the only way to free yourself is to dismantle it brick by brick. So, how do you begin to dismantle it? Krishnamurti taught that the first step is to observe your mind without judgment. He called this observation without choice and believed it to be the highest form of learning. This means, instead of fighting against your thoughts and emotions, you simply observe them. When you feel fear, anger, envy, or desire, stop for a moment. Don't react. Just observe. Where did that feeling come from? Who put it there? Is it really yours, or was it imposed? Neuroscience also confirms this. Mindfulness, the simple act of observing your thoughts without reacting, has the power to rewire your brain. The more you observe, the less control these automatic patterns will have over your life. Ask yourself, is everything you believe truly true? Since childhood, we've been taught what's good and what's bad. But who decided that? Krishnamurti said every belief is a form of prison. The only way to reach truth is not to blindly believe anyone's words, not even his or anyone else's. Science calls this critical thinking, the ability to question information before accepting it. But very few people do this. Most simply absorb what they're taught without asking questions. So, ask yourself, what in my life is truly mine, and what was imposed upon me? Krishnamurti said that the desire for security is the root of fear. Society teaches us to seek stability, a good job, a secure marriage, money in the bank, absolute certainty. But life is not stable. Everything changes constantly. Science shows that the brain cannot handle uncertainty because it activates the fear centers. But when we train the mind to accept the unknown, something amazing happens. Anxiety disappears and the brain adapts. This means that instead of fighting against the flow of life, we should learn to flow with it. Embrace the emptiness. That is your freedom. This is the hardest step. We constantly seek to fill ourselves. We want success, recognition, love, happiness. But what if true freedom is not wanting anything? Schopenhauer saw emptiness as a curse. For him, realizing life has no meaning was an unbearable burden. But Krishnamurti saw emptiness as a portal to true freedom. Experienced meditators know this. Getting rid of illusion gives way to a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. Now think about this. What if the peace you've been searching for was always with you, hidden behind all the illusions you never wanted to see?